Next up, handles, which I did mention briefly, but if I select a key here by clicking on it or left drag selecting it, I tend to left drag select because if you click on it, there's a good chance that you're going to move it when you grab it. So it's usually safer just to draw a little box over it. But if I select that, you'll see these handles appear either side of it. I can also select either end of the handle and middle mouse drag it up and down to affect the curve as it leads in and out of the key, which will have an effect on the motion of our sphere. You can also break the handles by selecting the key and clicking this button. This means that if I now select one end of the handle, it does not affect the other end. This can be useful especially for things like impact. So let's do a quick example on a sphere here of how we might use broken tangents. So I'm just going to delete some keys. I'm going to switch this back to spline. So we have up and down, and I just want to make sure we're lifting a bit higher than that so we can actually get some bounce. Something like this. Let's switch that back to auto. There we go. So auto tangent gives us a nice soft top and then a soft bottom. So at the top of the apex it's quite soft, but also when it bounces it feels quite soft there. It's not bouncing off the ground. So let's make this a double bounce. So we need to extend out the timeline. If you see this grey bar at the bottom here, it can be made smaller to limit what is viewed in the viewport like this. But currently I can't make it any bigger. To do that we need to input some numbers into these boxes on the left and right. The ones on the far left and the far right are the frame ranges for the scene. The ones inside of those are just the section that we want to see. This can be useful to do when you're working on a smaller section of a larger scene. So let's change this one that says 16 to say 32 and hit enter. So now you can see our timeline has shrunk and it's letting me know that I've got extra keys here that I can view if I want to. It's also highlighted here the keys that we are looking at, but if I just grab this box I can extend it all the way out to 32. Okay, now to make the double bounce. We'll do this by copying and pasting. Just select the Y curve and hit Ctrl C or Command C, move to frame 16 and Ctrl V or Command V and it will copy those keys. Now to break the tangents, let's select the key at frame 16 and click the little break tangents button. Now if we grab one end of the tangent, and I'll just hit F to zoom in a bit, I can lift it like this, and the same on this side. Let's just zoom out slightly, see what we're getting. Squashing the view. And then I want to grab these keys, I'm going to put those onto spline. And you can see we can kind of draw the bounce we're looking for. So our ball is just bouncing straight up and down, but if it was going to the side, you can imagine the kind of path it would take is something like this. So now if I hit play, you should see something that much more closely resembles a bouncing ball. So that's just one example of why you might want to break tangents. Generally it is to give you a harder impact, so it might not be a ball that's hitting the ground, it might be a superhero, it might be something crashing into a wall. Anything you need to give a harder impact, breaking tangents is usually a good option. So there's also two types of tangents, weighted and non-weighted. I'll be using non-weighted tangents for this class as it's how I tend to work, and the fewer things we go over the simpler it will be, as obviously there's already quite a lot to digest, so let's leave it there. But just make sure you are using non-weighted tangents by going to curves, non-weighted tangents. Non-weighted tangents will give you these little diamonds. So if you see diamonds, then we're all set.